Hello, and welcome to the Abunden YouTube channel, where we talk about a wide range of business topics related to creating and running outperforming companies. I'm Carl Meyer, your host. Today, we are reviewing the book Traction, which talks about the EOS system. So, will reading Traction to learn about EOS be a good use of your time? Let's dig in and find out. So first question is, what is EOS? EOS is the entrepreneurial operating system. Isn't that easy to say? And Traction tells us about it. So an operating system on a computer allows all the other programs to run. An operating system in your business allows sales, operations, finance, everything to run effectively. Why do I need one of these? Well, the fundamental business problem that Traction and EOS try and solve is when you start a business, you start it because usually you enjoy sales and you want to sell product, or you like the product or the technology and you want to focus on developing that. But over time, as you grow and succeed, what you find out is you spend more and more of your time dealing with people, employees in particular. And every person has people problems. And so eventually this draws you away from what you like to do. So at some point you either spend all your time on it or you're very frustrated and avoid it. Either way, the business stops growing. So when you say, wow, that's the problem I'm facing, then Traction may be the answer you're looking for. So how does Traction do this? How does EOS do this? So there's two key roles that Traction describes. And I think these are really important. I'm going to spend a little more time talking about them so you can understand the rest of the review more effectively. The first is the visionary. So the visionary is somebody who sees far into the future, who sees opportunities everywhere. Typically, they're the kind of person that, every week we've got several new ideas. Oh, we can do this better, we can do that. And it's a really important role. It's very valuable. But usually these types of people don't want to get stuck in the details of writing processes and are we holding people accountable? That's what the integrator does. The integrator is more internally focused. They work with sales, operations, and the finance admin areas, bring them together, help communications, solve problems, and hold people accountable. They make the trains run on time. So as you can see, these are two key roles and they work very well together. And Traction does a lot for explaining how they work together and also how they support each other and make each other's lives even better. I've been working with a company. They've got about 80 people. They're in the healthcare space. And the founder had grown the company to a certain point, but realized it wasn't going to go any further. So after we were able to work with him and bring in the ideas of visionary and integrator, he realized that he was a visionary. That's what he liked. That's what he wanted to do. That's how he wanted to spend his time. And it really improved the company. It allowed that entrepreneur to hand things off, and the company was really able to move forward in a much more effective manner. So how does this EOS system work? The way they divide it up is they have 6 different pieces, and the integrator uses these 6 pieces to implement the system. And I'm not going to go through all the details of each one of these pieces. You can read the book to learn about each one, but I will use them as a format to kind of go through and review the different parts of the book and kind of give you a little heads up on, what the benefits, pros and cons of the different areas are. And they even have a quick quiz to help you assess where your company fits in with these different areas. And it's pretty easy, 15 minutes, and gives you some good feedback. So I like that part. First area is the vision. So it's kind of a guide to running the business. They call their two-page summary of Vision Traction Organizer. But there's a lot more within this. And so the tool is very solid. It brings you 2 pages that covers not just the vision, but also your values that you can use to make decisions, and it's long-term goals, medium-term goals, even short-term goals. Puts it all in those 2 pages, and it really does a good job doing that. I've got a company that's a product of a couple different mergers, and they'd been, the different kind of predecessor parts of the organization were each kind of running in their own direction. But once we did this VTO and spent the time to kind of outline what, the goals are, where we're at, what is the vision, it really helped everybody in the organization to kind of see where they fit together, how they could work together, and was very, very valuable. So generally, I'd say this is a very strong part of the traction and the EOS system. I would say the way they do the vision statement, the way they guide you on the vision statement, I'd like to see a little bit more kind of the, it's not about what you do, it's why you do it, of kind of a focus on helping others, kind of a noble goal of sorts, and make sure you understand it's not about making money. So these are some of the kind of minor drawbacks, or things that I noticed in the this part of the book that I'd like to see done a little bit differently. So, but overall, the vision is a very strong part of what they offer here. The next is data. So we need information to make good decisions. And many times companies have information all over the place, but it's not put together in a way that's easy for the team as a whole to make good decisions. I've got a company that I've been working with that's an app-enabled company that provides a service. And they're very IT aware, they've got strong systems, a lot of reports, but until they use the scorecard approach that Traction recommends and build it into the meetings in the way that Traction encourages you to do, they were missing a lot of opportunities to improve things, catch things early, so they didn't, become a bigger problem. And so I see this as a very strong tool with the scorecard piece in particular, where Traction does a real good job. And the next piece is documentation. So documentation is definitely not the sexy part of any system. This is a kind of necessary evil, if you will, but the Traction approach really focuses on the key processes. It's got checklists to kind of help you think about what your key processes are. It, encourages you to document just the key processes and not spend a lot of time on kind of the secondary, smaller stuff that's just not as critical. So I think they do a really good job here. I was very pleased with the way they did this. The next is what they call traction. And to me, the way I interpret their definition of traction is basically how often and to have meetings, and then how to run those meetings. So they have quarterly and annual meetings, which are very powerful. I've seen these work well. I encourage you to have some sort of consultant or outside moderator to really help these go well. EOS into implementers. I give 2 different I words, but the implementers are the ones that typically run these meetings, and you can find them all over the US and nowadays the world. They do a really good job of guiding the meetings using the format in the book. You can do it yourself, but these EOS implementers can also help with that. the other piece is the weekly meetings, and they have a very structured approach to these weekly meetings, which makes them very efficient. So many meetings we've all been in can be a big waste of time. These are very effective, not a waste of time. I've got a company that I've worked with where the sales group and the operations group were just going at each other's throats, pointing fingers back and forth. Once we started having these meetings and working together to communicate more effectively, gradually those differences kind of faded away. We had better communication, resolved issues together. So I've seen this work really, really well. So big thumbs up on this part of the Traction EOS process. Next is processing issues. So every company, every group of people that work together in any way are going to face issues, either between themselves or external, however the issues present themselves. But you need some kind of tools and rules for processing these issues. And the approach that Traction uses are tools that I've seen used in CEO roundtables, other groups. These are kind of best practices, so they do a very solid job discussing these and showing you how to manage these issues. And so again, I like what they're doing here. Very solid job. And the last piece of the Traction wheel is selecting and organizing people. And they've got a couple different tools in here, but one is particularly effective for the selection of people, helping you to have a more consistent method for identifying, selecting people. And then that same tool can then be used to kind of rate people, and when necessary, can even be used for defining when it's necessary to let somebody go. So that's a really, really powerful tool. I think it's pretty innovative. I haven't seen this in a lot of the other, in any of the other books that I've read. So I really would say this is a very, very strong point for the system. So big, big thumbs up here. So overall, what's my rating on Traction? I'd say it's a very practical book. It's very comprehensive. The one thing I do want to say, if you're more of a visionary, this is probably not going to be the kind of book you're going to read cover to cover. You might glance through a little bit of it, but there's another book called Rocket Fuel that covers the relationship between visionary and integrators. And there's also some other books in the series like Get a Grip that are probably better for the visionary types. If you run a company and you're visionary and you don't like getting bogged down in a lot of the details, Traction's probably not the best book for you. But if you're an integrator or tend towards that type of role, this is a really excellent book for you. So if you want to learn more, look at their other books, other resources, visit www.eosworldwide.com, or you can find an EOS implementer in your area. Certainly know a bunch of them across the country, so it's a good, they're good people to talk to. Most of them will talk to you without even charging you, just to kind of give you some tips and guidance. So overall, buy the book. Thank you for watching this edition of Abunden YouTube channel. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, or concerns, please share in the comments below. And remember to click the subscribe button to see more Abunden videos so you can keep outperforming your competition.